All right, you are listening to Rock Hard with Jay Conroy from New York City, and in the studio with me is one of my very favorite guests, Steph Paynes from Lez Zeppelin.
Aw, Jay, thanks.
You really are one of my favorite guests.
This is a habitual. This is like an annual.
You know, because you come in, you're very easy to talk to. Now, I am not about, and I might have told you this before, but I am not a tribute band person.
Either am I.
Either are you, right? Now, you know I'm a huge Aerosmith fan. So for years, people were like, you got to go see this band Draw the Line. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go see Draw the Line. No, I don't care.
I draw the line at seeing Draw the Line.
Draw the line at seeing Draw the Line. It's not happening. However, they happened to be playing on the boardwalk in Atlantic City before an Aerosmith show, and I was there. I was like, wow, okay, cool. This guy's a doppelganger for Steven Tyler. I went on to interview him. Super nice guy. So, okay, Draw the Line. Now, I told you the way I came on to you was years back. I was working for a band at the High Line. You guys your band was scheduled to play there. I should say you girls. And I said, you know, I love that band name. I said, I've always heard of this band. I love that band name. And the guy's with his guitar player, and he goes, dude, they're the real deal. I'm like, really? He goes, oh, yeah, this is not a joke band at all. It's like, they're fucking for real. And then that's when I got in touch with you, and you came in, and I've seen the band a bunch of times since then. You always deliver, and I love it. So there's really only two tribute bands that I am going to give the time of day to, and that's Draw the Line and Lez Zeppelin.
Well, thank you, Jay. I'm glad that we land above the line drawn.
Well, that you do. And you know what? You know what? Here's the thing, especially with you. The number one thing with you is you are so passionate about what you do. You are so passionate about Jimmy Page. You're like the female Jimmy Page. You honestly are. And I think that's why I like to have you in. And you're hot. But, you know, that's my draw. We'll get her in because she's hot and I can look at her. But, you know.
There's only one thing that separates Jimmy from me, and that is the bank accounts.
Oh.
No, I was actually, no. No, not that. That's spread around. No,
yeah.
just...
But, bank accounts.
Bank accounts.
And very seriously, that's what it is. I'm like, she is so passionate about what she does that I love it, and it comes off. And I went to see the band, and I was like, oh, my God, these girls are incredible. It's a great band. I hate to say even these girls, because to me, it doesn't matter if you're male or female.
It's okay. But,
you know?
Yeah.
So,
these
you know.
people, guys, girls, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But
now,
thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, how long has the band been together now?
Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. It's beginning to dwarf everything else I've ever done.
Well, it's not a bad thing.
It's just frightening. Let's see. I want to say 16 years I've been doing this.
Which is good.
Which is ridiculous.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years with this? Or 20 years?
In a wheelchair.
You can still play.
Those Les Pauls are too heavy. They'll have to wheel me out with them, and I'll have a synthetic shoulder.
Because
I'll be cybernetic at that point.
Now you've had lineup changes through the years.
Yes,
but you are the focal point of that band. So that being said, do you see yourself in 10 years going, hey, why not? Like, I can still be out here doing this, maybe with a different lineup, if the girls don't all stay with you, but you can always find new players.
I'll tell you what, as long as it's continues to be fulfilling and a joy, and as long as people want to hear it, I would absolutely consider keep doing it. Assuming something else, I'm not doing something else that starts to take over. But, I never thought it would go on this long.
Yeah, you've told me
that
before.
I mean, the whole thing is such a strange adventure that who knows? The whole really, it was supposed to be just have a giggle, have a laugh, have a giggle, we'll play some Zeppelin. Of course, you can't just play it like that. You have to really work at it to play it the right way.
Do.
Right.
You put your own.
Once you're gonna do it, you have to really do it. Otherwise, it's embarrassing for everybody.
Yeah,
and what's the point? But
yeah.
But yeah, who knows, Jay? We may be here 15 years from now.
Yeah.
With our, glasses going.
Right.
Where,
Well, I'm wearing mine
where
now,
are you?
which they can't see. I don't think that's a bad thing. Now, you know what else I had noticed looking, before you came in here? Because, I follow a lot of bands, and your band is one of the bands I follow closely. Where's Lez? What are they doing? What are they up to? You're up on my news feed of, all notifications, that kind of thing, to see what's going on. And over the last few months and the next few months, you are busier than ever. You're playing gigs like crazy.
Yeah, we're ramping it up weirdly.
I've noticed.
Just when I thought, getting back to your last question, that's it. I'm done with this. I'm gonna, make my own album and write my novel, which I intend to do at some point.
I'll read that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I wrote one already. I'm considering publishing that one first. Well, but maybe not. But anyway, that's another. We diverge.
I'll tell you what. I'll read it and then I'll say, listen.
My mother keeps saying, that novel, you should publish it, which is very nice because she's an English professor.
Yeah, I met
she
your
liked
mom.
it.
She's a sweetheart.
She is.
Yeah.
But just when I thought that was going to happen, it was maybe ramp it down. It just somehow went in the other direction, and I think that's partially because of a couple of things. One, I have the band is fantastic right now. I mean and these musicians are so good, and they're so enthusiastic about this music that, in a way, I just thought, well, they really are on board. They really want to do this. So it really energizes me again. Not that I lose energy for it, but sometimes, I've done it for a long time, and they just love it, and they're all in, and they're so great to play with. So that's part of it, that it's really joyful on stage. That's great. But then we started doing a couple of new projects. We just had a lot of ideas, and one of which is a show with strings, and we just released a new album.
Right.
So there's that.
Plug
and
that
then
album, the name of the album.
The Island of Skyros. I actually brought you a copy.
Oh, I love you for that.
Thank you.
Now, let me just interject. I saw you used us as guinea pigs at the cutting room.
Yes.
Okay, when the first time that you had the strings.
All right.
Okay. So there's a string section, and I was like, well, I assume that they rehearsed with them.
Right.
Okay.
Well, oops.
But when the band played first before the strings really came in. Steph, if you could have seen, because I'm like, okay, I'm sure the string section has rehearsed with them, okay? But now you're on stage, and it's for real. And if you could have seen their faces, their jaws dropped. They were like, and they were smiling, they were like, damn, this is more than these girls are better than when we were rehearsing or whatever. But their faces were priceless.
Oh.
They were like, yeah, like, I'm glad to be a part of this.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Oh,
it was so nice.
It was so blatantly obvious. It was cool. So go ahead.
Right.
So
this was the album release party?
I don't know. I don't know if it was the album release party. I just remember you referred to us as guinea pigs.
Did I do an interview first? Anyway, because we did that with Brad Talinsky.
That was
a backstory.
That was the one with Brad.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Okay, it was the backstory one. Yes.
And those players. Yeah, forget about it. I mean, and my brother was one of them actually.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's a great violinist. But those. Actually, we did not rehearse with those guys until that day. But they're such professionals.
Yeah,
they play all over the world. Those players, and we had talked before, and they have played rock music. That's something that they do. So they were very well schooled in that sort of, I don't know, sort of vibe, as it were. They weren't just, oh my God, but and they love Led Zeppelin. So it was really fantastic. And when you play a show, your whole energy level is on a different plane than when you're rehearsing.
Right, of course.
So then you come dashing out and you're like gallivanting around the stage, and it's just like, whoa, what the hell's that?
And even seeing the band multiple times, it's still woe for me, but it was a total woe for them. Like, from my vantage point, which you don't see because you're you're out there playing.
Right.
I'm just like,
It's
you
totally
gotta see their
great.
faces. It was
And the
cool.
great thing about that, these string, this album and the string concerts that we have done, a few of them, but the album, it really features what basically is a quartet. But, it is not an orchestra. This is not Led Zeppelin music with an orchestra plays lullabies for,
Right.
children. I mean, it is not toned down one little bit.
I've
It
heard
is-
a couple tracks, yeah.
Yeah, it is just the full-on thing with the string section enhancing it and the arrangements are such that it sort of brings your ear to different parts of the composition. It's really interesting. And it works really beautifully.
And that's one of the things I love about your band is you're always doing different projects. Like you've done this, you'll take on different Zeppelin projects. One of the reasons you're here tonight, which we'll get to, is you're going to do Physical Graffiti in its entirety, which you've been doing, which is the last time you were here. When I read that, I was like, Steph, please come in.
Yeah.
And you always come in, and I thank you so much for
It's
that.
a pleasure.
You've never turned me down.
But yeah, that was the next thing that started to happen, which almost at the same time as the string thing, it just was this other idea for a show. One of our promoters said, "Hey, it's my birthday. What about this album?" Now, Physical Graffiti, I have to tell you, was my dream from the beginning.
Was it?
It sort of was. I mean, I've always had this dream of doing Physical Graffiti from the very start. I mean, a lot of my, people ask, what's your favorite Zeppelin song? And I never answer it because it's impossible to answer.
Yeah.
However, there are a couple of tracks on that record that are very special to me. I just adore them. And playing them was always this thing, like one day we're going to do it. It seemed like this epic mountain to climb, this mountain of an idea. And it is. It's
Yeah.
really
and what would
not
those tracks
easy.
Be?
Well, 10 Years Gone, In the Light. In the Light
Mm.
was the big hump because,
It's tough, right?
well, it's tough with 4 people.
Yeah.
You can do it if you have 8 people on stage or 7, but if you just have 4 to do all those tracks of keyboards and guitar, I mean, you can't do it exactly like they did it, but it does require a full-bodied keyboard, experience. So we have 3 keyboards going. Joan Chu plays 3 of them. I'm even triggering a drone sound in order to make this song work, which, we figured it out, and it works really beautifully. But that was one that was great. And, there's, it's got Cashmere on. It's got,
Yes.
all sorts of In My Time of Dying. It's just, and then
Trampled
crazy,
Underfoot, which
trampled
I
them, right.
love.
But then crazy ones that nobody ever plays, such as Down by the Seaside.
Yes.
I mean,
Kind of a mellow tune.
I
As a
know.
rocker, not one of my favorites. I'll
well,
be
right,
honest.
me either. But
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. Playing it is so much fun.
Interesting.
And it's so much fun for the audience to hear that song live. Because I'm telling you, they never hear it. Nobody plays that. The band never played it. I don't think they ever played it. They never played, Boogie with Stu live.
Right. Which I love that you take these things on.
Yeah, it's
It's not
crazy.
the first project you've taken on
Yeah.
like this.
Completely
like a
idiotic.
few years back you did, you recreated, what concerts was
Oh,
it?
we did a bunch of them. We did Nebworth, which is
Yes,
3
that's
hours
the
long.
one. Yes.
That was fun.
That was a lot of freaking songs. You were in here we talked. I had you in, and I'm like, Steph, these are gonna be on stage for like a long time. And I came, and you guys.
They had to send us to the sanatorium after that one. Yeah, that
whatever
was
it
intense.
takes.
Yeah.
Now last time you were here and we talked about it, I said, my favorite song on there. I hate to say, but just it seems so easy as Custard Pie because it's the opening track.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
But since, and I had wished I remembered this last time, is In 10 Years Gone. The way that the song starts off slow, changes fill my time, baby, that's all right with me, right? But then, and I had thought about this after you left, it's one of those songs that to this day gives me chills when it starts to build, and Robert Plant, I'm certainly not trying to imitate Robert Plant, but when he comes in and he goes, did you ever really need somebody and really need them bad? I'm like, oh, you know, that so gets to me. So
well, I think 10 Years Gone is one of those songs that epitomizes the light and shade that Led Zeppelin were consciously, you know, going for. I mean, Jimmy has expressed this many, many times. It's not anything new or novel, but it's such a beautiful composition, and it's because it goes from the dynamics of this one song alone are magnificent, and the melodies are sweeping, and the guitar lines are sweeping. I mean, it might be, you know, it might be my favorite. It certainly is a top 3. And it's because of that, because it is so moving and so beautifully executed on record, you know. Which is why, again, I mean, this is the thing, you know, to execute live what you're hearing on the record is one thing, which we sort of attempt to do sonically, the guitar sounds and all the rest of it, but we also don't attempt to do it because I'm not sure you really can do that. And even if you could, what's the point? You just listen to the record. But to interpret those songs and to play them live and to try to capture the essence of it, which is what you just described, the essence of this, you know, dynamic and this harmonic structure, is really where we're at. That's what we like to do, and that's what we aim for, is the live presentation of the music, which is exciting. You know, it's exciting for us. I will tell you that recently we did Physical Graffiti in Washington at the State Theater. It was completely sold out.
I noticed you've been selling out quite a bit.
Yeah, everyone wants this show. It is absolutely amazing, and no one does it. They don't do it because it's bloody hard. It's got every style that Led Zeppelin pretty much did all in one album. So it's very challenging, and it's a lot of work. So most people don't think of doing it, and it's hard to do. But we did it. We've been doing it, and we're doing it again. We'll get to that. We did this album in Washington. It was amazing. And 10 Years Gone came around, and, you know, I started by myself, you know. And, you know, this is the thing about playing live. Sometimes you just hit it in a way where it is perfect. It starts the way it should, at the right tempo, with the right gentleness. And then it can build from there, and the band just plays it in this way, you know. It doesn't always happen, but when it happens, you know it, and it is magical. Well, this was happening at this show, to the point where midway through this song, I was absolutely in tears.
Really?
I was losing it on stage. Like, I had to get through the song, and I was just so overwhelmed by the beauty of it and the way this band was playing it and the moment and just the sound of the guitars and everything, that I was weeping. And I, at one point, turned my back. I think, you know, the girls actually didn't notice. They told me later, but my guitar tech did. You know, he's been with me forever.
He has. He's on top of stuff, that guy.
And, you know, finally I got through the song. The end of it was just, you know, I was almost shaking because those lines at the end were beautiful. And when I was done, the guitar was soaking wet. It was really funny. And I was like, oh no, my makeup and all this.
Right.
And, you know, Rob, my tech, you know, he just like, are you all right? And I'm like, no. So no. And he just hugged me on set. And nobody really knew why, but it took me about a minute and a half to compose myself to move on. But that was so beautiful, because that's the way it should be. You know, that's what should happen.
And again, that goes back to where I started, your passion for it. I wish I was there to see that. Yeah. I hope that happens this week.
This week. Might.
Saturday night. But
Don't jinx
and listening
it.
to you, huh?
We can't jinx it.
No. It'll be great no matter what. But and you telling me this story again, the passion that comes out of you, and that's really why I love the band and I love talking to you. You know, because you just have such that passion for it, and that comes out in the playing. You know, so that's cool. I'm glad to hear that. But I've noticed that the shows are selling out now. Ironically, this week, it might even be today as we're recording this, is the 45th anniversary.
That's right.
Of Physical
Well done,
Graffiti.
Jay. Very good.
Jay does his homework.
He does. A+.
Thank you.
Now write an essay on
Right.
the impact of physical graffiti on the music business.
I could do that.
Yeah. People have.
Now, originally, you know, they had more than they knew what to do with, more material, which is why it became a double album. Now, you would know more about this than me. But, you know, and it was recorded in like a few different places, right? Some of it was some unreleased stuff that they hadn't put on the albums and that
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
I remember when it came out vividly. I remember going to buy it as a kid and loving it. You know, like totally loving it. I just thought it was such a cool album.
I think a lot of people share that sentiment.
Really?
A lot of people love this album in a way. This is why we've been seeing this. They're just blown. They've got to see this.
Yeah.
I think it was sort of the height of their career, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they were as
Big
world
as, you could
as
get.
dominating as ever at that moment, and Physical Graffiti was.
And I think too, it goes back to what we were saying before about it goes so many different places with the fast songs, the slow songs, the long songs, like Kashmir. I mean, Kashmir is like, you know, it's mesmerizing,
Right.
You know, all that stuff. So yeah, I could look. I got excited when the last time you were here, and that's why I called up and said, "You're doing Physical Graffiti. Can you come in? Can we talk about this? You know,
Right.
I so want to hear this." So yeah, 45th anniversary, which is cool. You're selling out, which is really, really well. Now, obviously, before the first time you did it, the band had to rehearse all this stuff. You had to work on it and work on it and work on it.
Yeah.
Now that you've done it, like in between gigs, will there be a rehearsal?
There's one Wednesday.
There's one Wednesday.
No, see, because this, you know, even if we rehearse it, there's so much material in a way, and it all is demanding in different ways that, you know, you really need to revisit it and play through it. You know, there's so many different playing techniques that go into that one record. I'm playing slide half the time. I'm using tremolos. I'm got different guitar sounds and different guitars, and I mean, everyone is. Jones gets up and sits down. She gets up to play the bass, then she sits down to play the key. I mean, we're all like, but Joan and I particularly have this revolving door of instrument changes and vibe changes and tone changes, and you know, to play the album in order. So it's very you have to revisit it. You know, you're never really going to play any of it perfectly, so you have to refresh it and go through it and go through the transition. So yeah,
Now, Lez Zeppelin has played in practically every state here in America. I think last time we talked about this, I think you said maybe one state.
Yeah, we knocked one of those out a couple weeks ago.
Did you
Yeah.
All right. So what are you down to? Just
Utah.
one?
We got Utah.
You got Utah,
Yeah.
huh? All
So
right.
now I think we've got like maybe one.
And
I don't
not to
even
mention
know.
around the world.
Hawaii. We haven't played in
you
Hawaii.
gotta go.
We almost did, but it got canceled.
You got to go to Hawaii.
There was some festival that
I may
didn't happen.
even go out to Hawaii to see
Yeah.
it.
Well, that was
use it as
the-
an excuse to go to Hawaii. Now, let me ask you, when you go to an unfamiliar place, like Utah or even another country, like, you know, Germany, and where'd you go last year? You were at the rainforest somewhere?
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going back, actually.
Is there any nerves that is this going to go over? I mean, you know you're good. You know the band is good. You're rehearsed. You're ready. But you're going into uncharted territory, so to speak. And we also talked about that, and I don't know if this is the case as much anymore, but the very first time we talked, and I said, oh, you know, like Lez Zeppelin, you know, and you said to me, You said, yeah, a lot of people, they think, oh, well, this will be cute. And this is basically what you said to me. A lot of people think, well, this will be cute and, it'd be nice. And then we start to play and they realize, hey, it's the real deal. So I know as a band, you're confident. But are there any nerves when you go into completely uncharted territory? Like, okay, how is this going to go over? Do you get nervous before you go out there? Because I'm sure once you start to play, people are like, all right. But does that happen?
Well, sure. I mean, anything new and different, especially in other countries so far away, you don't really know. And, there are different types of audiences, and just by virtue of the culture, Australia was a little like that. We'd never been there before, and we didn't know what we were getting into in lots of ways, not just how people would react. But, this is the thing. I mean, it went over great. I mean, people loved it. They went crazy. So that's why we're going back. But, this music is so beloved, as it were, that that's a given. So at least there's that. You're playing music that people already love. That's kind of a big thing to get over. It's not like, okay, here are these new songs, and are they going to like it? Or, they already like the song. So at least and then it's just a matter of, will they like the way we play it? Will they like what they're seeing and hearing and the whole zeitgeist of it? And I have to tell you, we've been very fortunate in that I'm trying to think of anywhere that we've gone where it really went over like a lead balloon, like a Lez Zeppelin.
Right.
And it's hard to think of.
Good.
But, I mean,
and that doesn't surprise me.
Some places are more reactive than others,
Sure.
but it's never been a case where, boo, you suck, or we don't like this, or next, ever,
Right.
ever. Knock on wood.
Now, you touched on something before I want to talk about. Last summer, you played, there was the big rock guitar exhibit at the Museum of Metropolitan Art.
Yes.
Right? And they were doing the Met, as they say. And they were doing like Rock Fridays or something like that. Okay? So I attend this. I said, I got to go see this, right? So I go in there. And that was a huge room. How many people? Do you know? How many people?
The auditorium there, the Grace Rainey Auditorium at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, outside of which...
You said it was called the Met.
Well, yes, the Met for short, for those of us who are allowed to use that shortened moniker. No.
Right.
Outside of which, 1,000-year-old mummies are hibernating. That auditorium, I believe, is 700. Somewhere in that vicinity.
It looked like
it's gorgeous, yeah.
So,
well, people may have been standing too. I mean, they pretty much let everyone in.
Okay, I walk in. I was running a little bit late, and I walk in, and I'm like, this place is packed.
Yeah.
Okay, packed.
There were 1,200 replies before they cut it off.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made sure I got in on that early. Yeah. And I'm looking around at the crowd, and I said, this is interesting because there's some Zeppelin fans here, but there's a lot of Met people that are attending because they attend everything at the Met. It's Upper East Side, big-time money people, okay? And beforehand, you came out with Brad Torlinsky, who, I think is fantastic at what he does. And, the two of you sat down and you had all the different guitars that Jimmy plays, and you went over the guitars and all that. Now, first of all, I was actually nervous for you.
Yeah, I was nervous for me.
You were? Okay.
Jay, this was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried not to think about it too much. I mean, when they sent me the email asking if we would play at this exhibit, and, I nearly fainted.
Well, wait, I wasn't nervous for you playing.
Talking.
Yes.
Well, wait, I was about to get to that because,
okay.
I mean, the reason that they asked us, well, it's sort of a story, but is because Jimmy Page was the largest single donor to that exhibit, which, as you know, they call it the Instruments of Rock and Roll, Play It Loud, and it had unbelievable just gems in there. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
Beatles, all the Beatles stuff,
Yes,
the drum
every
kit,
big
everyone's
name.
right, and Jimi Hendrix's guitars and Eric Clapton's, Blackie was in there, and everything. You walk in and Chuck Berry's guitar is
Right.
the first thing you see.
Joe Perry put a guitar there too,
Oh yeah, yeah, he did.
I got to throw
yes,
that
he
in.
did. No, that's fair. That's fair. Prince. I mean, everything is in there.
Huge.
So it was that the Met. Apparently, this was the top three most attended exhibits in the history of the Met.
Which is interesting because...
Like Tutankhamun was one. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, they had more visitors to this exhibit. And it was a big deal.
Do you know how many people had told me before you were even announced to play that I went to that?
Oh, for sure.
I didn't think I was going to be into it because I'm not really I thought, it's going to be a bunch of guitars just in glass cases. And everybody raved about it.
Right. Now, people flew in to see that exhibit. So Jimmy had a lot of stuff in there. Okay. And I guess the curator decided that because Led Zeppelin was so well represented and Jimmy's guitars were, that wouldn't it be great to have a concert to close out. This was toward the end of the exhibit's run. Yeah. To close out the exhibit, a whole night where, people could come in. They had different things going on, but the big concert was going to be a Led Zeppelin concert of their music, and they decided to ask us. And the talk, which preceded this 1-hour concert, it was a 1-hour concert, was for me to sit down with Brad, who's written 2 books on Jimmy Page already, and actually wrote a book called Play It Loud. It's not where they actually got the name, or maybe it is, but he wrote the history of the electric guitars in his book, Play It Loud. So he knows, and he used to be the former editor of Guitar World, so he knows everything about it. So the idea, which they wanted, was for me to take all the guitars that were on display at the Met and explain briefly how Jimmy used them and what they were. I mean, it was like I was suddenly in the position of being really the world expert on Jimmy Page's instruments, which were displayed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And when I started to think about that, you said you were nervous? I was just like, all I want to say is I was just sort of, oh my God, this is really, I took it really seriously. And it was heavy duty. Now, I didn't play his guitars, but I have all the same ones, you see. I have all the relics. So I basically was using my guitars, of course, to pick up and show everybody.
So now, I've seen you back to the string thing, which Brad did, and so I've seen you sit and talk in front of an audience, right? And you talk to me,
You're an audience.
And
you listening, you're an audience.
I am an audience, and I love listening to it. But I said, this is really big for her, and I said, I know she can she can play. That's not an issue at all. But I was sitting there going, you got this, Steph. You can do this, And I'm like, how is she going to be out there? Because, it's quiet. Everybody's listening to every word that you're saying. And like you said, you are now the authority on Jimmy's guitars.
It was nuts. Yeah.
And you did not seem nervous at all. You came across phenomenal. You explained it well. You had likability, which you have likability anyway, but you had likability that night. And again, a lot of people in that audience were the Met, crowd.
Right.
The snooty, I don't call them snooty because I don't really,
well, that was one example
of Met people. So.
Well, it was one example of an audience that we weren't sure, really how that would go.
Right, because I was checking them out.
Museum audience.
But here's the thing. I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what, people? Just wait till they play. And then you're going to see it, But you did phenomenal. Explaining it, you seemed calm, whether you were nervous inside or not. You seemed calm. You came across good. I'm like, I'm proud of her. She's doing good, And again, I was like looking at the people, and they were very attentive and listening and stuff. I said, just wait till this band plays.
Right.
And then you're going to see. And you brought it all home. It was great.
No, it was a good performance. We were all completely stoked. And to answer your question, yes, I was nervous. That was the nerve-wracking part. And, you know, Brad and I had talked about what we might discuss, but we really didn't go over it that much. I mean, it was just sort of, you know, it was really a bit off the cuff, and I didn't have that much time. So I generally just went from guitar to guitar and talked about what it was and what it sounded like and where it was used and the general, basics, not anything too heavy. But and then we played this 1-hour show, and I decided that I had to basically, since I was the representative, you know, I replicated Jimmy's backline for that show. So
Did you?
Yeah, so I had what was basically on display at the Met. I brought on stage, not his, but again, mine. I added pieces to it so that I would have the full effect, because I just thought let's in this instance give the audience a taste of what they just saw. This is how it would have been performed, you know. It would have looked like this, more or less, and hopefully sounded somewhat like this. And there's the real thing out there, and here is a representation. So it was one of the, I would have to say, crowning moments of this band's career so far. There's no doubt.
Well, I'm glad I was there for it, because it was a big deal.
Very, very, we were extremely honored to have been asked. And it was after the people at the Met were lovely, and they were all super excited.
They were nice to me.
They loved it. They didn't expect it either, what happened.
Because you had the snooty types,
no,
and then you got me.
I mean, when we came off stage in the back, they were beside themselves. They were not expecting it either. They were just like, oh my God. Yeah, and the curator came up, and we talked a little about it after that. And again, he was just, this was so great. Oh my! And I said, thank you for thinking of us. You know, we were so honored. And can I just ask you, what made you decide to reach out to us? And he said, oh, well, Jimmy told us.
Get out of here.
At which point, I just thought, Jimmy, like, yeah, who else?
Jimmy, you
yeah,
mean
because
Jimmy
when he was here, you know, he mentioned you to us, and so that's why we thought, you know, you would be good.
That's the crowning jewel on this whole story.
And then the first thing I thought was, he must be making this up.
Right.
He's lying. And then I thought, why would he lie? Right. I mean, I was trying to think of a reason.
Jimmy, for those of you that don't know, Jimmy is well aware of your
yes,
band.
no, of course.
You met Jimmy.
Yeah. But, you know, I thought, why would he make that up to tell me that, unless it were actually true? So that was even better. The fact that, you know, Jimmy may have had some role in deciding that we might represent Led Zeppelin.
That is so cool to hear.
Adequately, or as much as it could be represented without them doing it.
Right. Yeah. Now, if Jimmy Page is saying you should call Lez Zeppelin, they're going to call Lez Zeppelin. That I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I didn't know it until the end either.
Which you're probably better off.
Yes.
Not knowing till the end.
Yes, maybe.
Because it would have been more pressure.
I probably, yeah. Well, I don't know what I would have done then. I would have maybe called him up and said, come or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's good I didn't know these things.
Right.
Ignorance is always better.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. But it was
night.
Amazing. It was a great night.
It was. I was so glad I was there, because I was like, this is one I do not want to miss.
Yeah.
This is like potentially like a once in a lifetime, at least up until now. You know, this is like, you got to be at this, you know.
Yeah, and the band, I was so proud of all of them. I mean, everyone played.
Yeah, the girls were cooking.
Everyone played magnificently. Nobody got stage fright, because believe me, everyone felt the weight of this responsibility.
I believe it.
And no one froze. It was a fantastic show, actually.
It was.
It was a really good show. I mean, we were just...
The audience loved it.
Yeah.
You won over... Yeah, I mean, your fans were in the house.
Yeah,
There's no doubt.
It was great, yeah.
And they treated your fans, when I said me before that, me, I'm speaking for me and all the Lez Zeppelin freaks that love the band.
It was great for us to see you there. I mean, that is what helped, you know, support.
You know, I don't know.
Was to see the familiar faces there cheering us on. I mean, that was really super important.
I was in the fourth row,
yeah.
center. And I forgot about this until just a second, and I don't expect you to remember this, but you came out on stage, and before, and me, because I don't care, right? So you come out on stage, and as loud as I could, because you know how loud I am, I go, yes, Steph! And everybody around me is just like, fuck. Like, you know?
Where do you think you are?
Yeah.
Just, please,
and I was
quiet.
Like, hopefully she heard that. I don't know if you might have, but I'm sure your head was in a bunch of different places, you know, but I could see all these heads like looking at me, and I didn't care, you know.
Good for you.
But, yeah, it was great. It was great. So this Saturday, again, sold out at the Gramercy Theater.
Actually, it's Friday. We're playing at the Gramercy on this Friday.
Friday.
Yeah,
we're
redoing Physical Graffiti.
I have it in my phone as Friday.
Yeah.
But then for some reason I thought
because
it was
we're playing it Saturday as well. We're playing Saturday in Peekskill at the Paramount in Paramount Hudson
Believe
Valley.
me, I would have checked before that.
So we're doing it there. It's not that far from New York.
No, it's not.
So if you can't get tickets to the New York show, but you can. I think you can still get tickets to that one. But yeah, so the Physical Graffiti, we did it at the Gramercy Theater in December, and it sold out.
Sold out immediately.
And so we decided to add a show, and that sold out even faster, which is great.
It is.
People want to see it. They want it. They want to experience it. So we decided to make a bit more of it, and we put together a multimedia show that goes along with it, which is really super cool. And, you know, basically I think that this gets back to the beginning of our conversation, which is building more of a production, more of an immersive experience, taking it to new places. And that's kind of where we're at.
Which, you know, you had told me that a couple of years ago, and you've delivered on that.
Yeah.
So
that's starting to happen. I'm excited about that. We already have this one album that's got a full multimedia show, and I think we're going to keep ramping that up. And maybe, I'm not sure what it will morph into, but I have some ideas already.
All right. Well, look, I hope you keep playing, and if you play, I will come, as they say.
Right.
Along with
what is that, Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
Stage of Dreams.
Yeah, Stage of Dreams. Because again, I love seeing the band. So you never turn me down. Thank you so much for coming in, Steph.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. It's always a good talk. We land up talking for like a half hour before we even start recording.
I think it was more like an hour and a half.
Right, it was probably an hour and a half. Well, we catch up on personal stuff.
That's right.
Number one, we don't want the audience to hear. And number two, they
definitely
wouldn't care about.
don't want that. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. No, well, they wouldn't care anyway. It's like our personal life stuff. You know what I mean? So, Lez Zeppelin, everybody. Steph Paynes, thank you so much for coming in. Go see Lez Zeppelin, people. I say this all the time when I share your stuff on social media. I am like, trust me, go see this band. So,
thank you.
Steph Paynes, thanks again.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And we'll see you out there.
Yes, you will.
Shouting, go.
I have a second row seat.
All right.
Oh, yeah. I'm always up front.
All right.
I don't sit in the back.
Yeah.
Up front I will be.
No
Yelling my
backseat
head off.
Charlie.
No, not for me. All right. Thanks, Steph.
Thanks.